Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Hey, Faster Mike, good afternoon. Well, a brand new president has been appointed. The outgoing one says times have changed. Well, we'll see exactly what Ewan Watterson has to say. I think we'll be speaking to him. The news team will be getting to talk to him, so we don't hear from him on Mannin Line. We'll hear from him later on today. And the question of being tech-savvy often comes up on Mannin Line. So are you tech-savvy? Do you consider yourself tech-savvy? And do you have access to digital technology, or does it just pass you by? Or you know all about it, you just can't be bothered. What are your thoughts on being tech-savvy these days? How tech-savvy are you? Well, answer me this. Can you turn the television on? That's one thing. Can you, TVs nowadays are like computers, aren't they? Howard's first with us today. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. I came on yesterday and you said, well, that's not what you came on for, but it was only a matter of minutes yesterday. No, just reading that they're having problems down at Tynwald, where the Tynwald Dam, the old Clux's Laundry Dam, that is drying, well, not drying out, but the levels are dropping to a point where it's becoming, how can I say, unacceptable. Now, I can remember that, and people listen to your program will remember it also, because we used to play down there when we were kids. And we lived at Williston, and we used to walk down through what is now that housing estate on Johnny Watson's Lane, the downside, the big houses. We used to call that the Giant's Belly. Make our way down across the sluice. There was a sluice there at the dam, and that used to allow water to go in through a mill race into the laundry.
Right.
And I think somewhere in the back of my mind says that has been closed and more or less taken away for safety. The sluice, that is. Not the sluice, the mill race. But down that area, all that, running alongside there, the river used to split. And this is where salmon and sea trout used to come up in the autumn when we used to get the heavier rains, flood the river, and the water naturally coming down would be stopped to a degree going into the dam to prevent damage, but they would then divert down a river alongside. And I've seen salmon in there, loads of them going up through. And I looked it up, and they used to have what they call fish ladders. And these are a section alongside the rivers where it's unwieldy or awkward for salmon and trout to jump and clear and go up to where they were born, the gravel beds. And in the instance of Tynwald, well, that was going up through to West Baldwin, and where paper mill cottages up there. It comes from the paper mill that used to be there. There was fish ladders there, and there are none in use now. Even the sluice gate at the lifting bridge doesn't have a fish ladder. I think that they're just using the fact that it's underwater and allows a 2-hour window each day, twice, to allow fish to come up through. But they would go all the way, and I've seen salmon down there waiting in the harbour, round by the lifeboat slip.
Right.
And I'm talking about big salmon. But the Manx Wildlife Trust have sort of responsibility for the Tynwald area. It was the farmer that's there, a Mr. Kane, and there's an old fort, as we used to call it, the fort, alongside the river. But that area, we used to get a lot of bats, a lot of lizards, and a lot of wildlife down there. So is that place being neglected? Because I looked on Google yesterday, and the salmon still do come in through to Douglas, but how they get up through to West Baldwin to where their gravel pits are, the gravel areas where they lay their eggs and then come back down. They'll also come in the River Neb. They'll come in Sulby. So maybe the fishing fraternity on the island will have more information on this, and are they still coming in as a travelling salmon, because they're born here and they'll go out to sea for quite a number of years, then they'll come home and lay their eggs. And as a younger person, and in the autumn, we used to see an awful lot of these sea trout and wild salmon coming back up the rivers.
How long ago was this? Where would this be?
Well,
the 60s, 50s?
Yes, it would be, 60s and even down to the late 50s. As I say, I'm 82 now, so I can remember these things, and all that area was our playground. We used to walk from Williston down through, and there'd be a dozen of us, and we've even been camping down there. But the dam itself, I'm led to believe that it was used for model yacht sailing.
Right.
And I've been told that the owner of Klux's Laundry, Mr. Klukas, had, where you walk down there, I don't know if they're still there, I haven't been there for a little while, but there are all posts there, and that was where he put a platform around the dam, and where the people could sail their yachts comfortably and safely. But many years ago, I had a cup given to me, and it was for the Douglas Yacht Club, and they sailed down there, and this was the Thomas Cowell Cup, and it's going back to the 1930s. So all that area was, in fact, I'll stand corrected on this, but where the buildings are now that have been put up was the Braddon football pitch, and the Braddon football hut. Their building was down there and all. Right. So, but are the salmon still coming into the island, or have the government effectively put a cap on it? Well, not purposely, because even now they're going to start repairing the river banks in Douglas on the river where it meets up at the back of the NSC, top side of the power station. There's a contract out now to repair that because of the caissons, the wire cages are breaking up, and I think it's Paul Carey. They've got the contract to renew the river banks. So if that's going to happen in the autumn, is that going to affect salmon coming up through Douglas?
Well, the interesting thing is now we need to know, you reckon the ladders have gone and the race has definitely gone, and what's left of the dam then?
I haven't been down for a while, but the dam itself was sound the last time I was down, the embankment and everything. The buildings go down to within 50, 60 metres of it. So the dam itself was sound. And there's a tremendous amount, a big area there that's all bulrushes, always were. So you've got wildlife down there, dragonflies, damselflies, everything. And as I say, we used to see at evenings when we were down there, bats, and I suppose they're still down there, loads of lizards, there's loads of wildlife down there. So this is an area that should be protected and should be looked after. There were two weirs there. There was a sluice gate further up where they could put the blade down and put more water down this secondary river. And that would assist the salmon to come up, and they go all the way up through Barradale, up under the bridge, St George's Bridge, out past the old Litz factory, the old Litz place there where they destroyed Cassie cows, as they call it, the old cattle and everything like that, and then on the way, all the way up through to West Baldwin, up to the gravel. So this is part of our history, again, that is slowly being eroded.
And also the fact is that our wildlife is very important too as well. So if wild fish aren't allowed to get to where they used to be able to get to, somebody's either decided it's not important anymore, or somebody's looked the other way, surely.
Well, that sounds more like it, because it is important, but I think the fish still can get up, but it'll be more difficult without the fish ladders. and I looked at it and said there are no fish ladders in operation, but if anybody's out there that can tell me different, that would be nice. But as I say, I can remember these salmon coming in, and I'd say some of them were 10, 15, or even more pounds waiting to go up the river, and just drifting around the harbour until there was sufficient water in, because it's been fully tidal there. Yeah. Then off they'd go up the river, up through Polrose, out through the Quarter Bridge, up through Tynwald, and they'd work their way all the way up through to West Baldwin.
Right.
And the same will be working for the Neb in Peel,
okay,
and in the Sulby in Ramsey.
Right, okay. Well,
our friend Wilf.
We're now opening this. Wilf would have known, wouldn't he? We're opening this to the fishing fraternity. What's the migration pattern like at the moment? Is it healthy? And I wonder what the plans are, as you say, when they're doing the banks, when the banks are going to be restored, how that's going to help.
Well, I've just been down to a place on Peel Road, and coming through from the Bratton Bridge to Quarter Bridge, I noticed there's 3 or 4. I had to keep my eye on the road, but I'm assuming they are infrastructure wagons alongside the river where the rugby fields are,
right,
and a team of men there. So, about 3 wagons and a van, and there's a team of men, looks all in orange, and they look as though they work. They might be environmental, the sewage people, I don't know, but you have to keep your eye on the road.
Yeah.
But that there, and the other river then goes on behind the NSC. That's where these 2 rivers meet up, just top side of the power station, and that's where this company are going to be doing the riverbanks.
Okay. All right. Howard, well, thanks for starting us off on that. We'll see if anybody knows any more about it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know anyway, because salmon and the things, for hundreds of years they've been coming into the island, and do they still do it? I know the government had a fish farm out at Cornay, and they will supply fish to the rivers, reservoirs, for the public to use for holidays and etc. for fishing. Yeah. But that's not a natural fish introduction.
Okay. All right, Howard, that's great. Thanks for starting that off. Good to talk to you.
Take care. Bye now.
Cheers. Now, it's 18 minutes past 12. I want to go to John with us now. Hello, John. I think we've got...
I've been saying there.
Oh, hi, John. Yes, you're on now, sorry.
Yeah, so just a quick follow-up to what your man's been saying there. Salmon, certainly, on all of the island rivers, the numbers have collapsed for a variety of reasons. You take the River Glass, for example.
Yeah.
The first impact on the ecology of the river occurred in 1965, when Douglas Corporation, who operated Baldwin Reservoir, had to reduce the compensation flow in order to keep Douglas supplied with water.
Right.
This effectively reduced the river to basically a trickle. It's what we have at the moment. And it's like every other creature on this planet. The moment you reduce or destroy the habitat, the numbers collapse. And that's exactly what started in 1965. It was followed on by the Water Authority in 1973, who installed the abstraction point on the East Baldwin stream and took 500,000 gallons a day out of that stream, which then reduced Douglas down to what it is now. So there's no actual habitat there anymore. It's been shrunk. You're not going to get the fish. There's no juveniles, or the numbers of juveniles collapses, as does the adults. There used to be a salmon trap at Baldwin. It was installed by the Board of Ag in 1952 and operated until 1965. And there's a report in the Isle of Man Examiner in 1952 that tells us the first year it was working, on the 12th of September, they'd caught 40 salmon, and this is at St. George's Bridge, just above St. George's Bridge.
Right.
They would go on to catch, on average, 90 salmon a year, average weight of 7 pounds, and 30 sea trout with an average weight of 3.5 pounds.
And was this recreational fishing, or was it to eat? What was it? What were they for?
No, this was a Board of Ag operated fish trap,
right,
in order to get adults to strip for eggs.
Right. Oh, I see.
For stocking the rivers.
Right.
And it operated till 1965. They only took 90 salmon and 30 sea trout because that's the most they could accommodate at the hatchery at the time, which was at Glenwillan. Not Glenwillan. Is it Glenwillan? Yeah, Glenwillan. And operated till 1965. What happened then was when that's the year Douglas Corporation reduced the compensation flow.
Right.
And they packed in the hatchery. Now, the other thing that the man mentions is weirs. Every river on the island has weirs that are, because of neglect or just bad design, are impassable to the fish as they migrate upstream. The Silverburn has two, Pulson Park and Lady Young's Weir. The Santon has a similar weir at the Ferry Bridge. It's been modified this last winter, which hopefully should allow salmon up. On the Glass, you have Baldwin Reservoir, which is an obstruction. Fish can't get up it. On the River Doo, you have the weir in Drinkwaters Estate, which is just about impassable because it frequently gets blocked. Laxey, there's two weirs at Laxey, one on each tributary. There's one up Glenroy and another one at the Salmon Leap restaurant. Salmon couldn't get over it if they had wings. At Sulby, there's a similar situation with Sulby Reservoir. Nothing gets past it, nothing gets out of it. The River Neb is probably not as bad as the rest, but there's a weir at Close Lease, which was modified 5 or 6 years ago by the MUA, and they made a right mess of it. It's certainly impassable to smaller fish under 2 or 3 pounds. The other thing, of course, which is impacting is pollution. We have the Laxey and Neb, which are very badly impacted with heavy metals. We have Sulby again with over-abstraction, as the River Glass is. The volume of water from Ramsey, Sulby, should be probably 3 times what it is now. It's just really neglect. The MUA have done more damage to the island's rivers with those 2 reservoirs than everybody else put together, probably apart from the mines. Certainly the recently formed Recreational Fisheries Management Board have got serious problems to deal with because the likes of the MUA, they don't care. They take all the water to keep us supplied. You lose a lot of it through leakage. It's all the way. It's a circle that's getting smaller and smaller, and they are going to disappear. Last year, the Board of Ag, they now get spawning stock with electrofishing here, and I said earlier that at one time they would have caught 90 salmon at Baldwin in a year. Last year, they electrofished Douglas and got 3 salmon. In fact, they were unable to get any brood stock from the rivers.
John, where's all this going to lead us?
Well, they're going to disappear. Migratory fish, particularly salmon, are going to disappear. They're struggling in their time at sea due to warming sea temperatures, problems with the feeding ground, and predation by species such as seals, which we now have an explosion of them things. Just everything is against them. Now, whether we can actually turn it round, I don't know. It's certainly going to cost money. We need to clean up the pollution problems, such as the mines. We need to be looking to get Manx Utilities to release an acceptable compensation flow to maintain the ecology of the rivers. It's just we've done so much to stamp on them. I'm surprised there's any at all in the rivers now.
So you reckon the initiative has to come from Manx Utilities?
Well, certainly in terms of the compensation flows. Also the likes of St John's Sewage Treatment Works. it's out of date. It's going to get replaced in 2 or 3 years' time. But that's not helping the NEB. But the metals, particularly from the mines, and the damage that's been done to the deads by off-roading has contributed to the problem.
Now, I was going to say that because when you talk about heavy metals coming down, how can you stop that? I mean, they're going to come down, come what may, down into Peel Basin, aren't they?
Infrastructure have done some work on Crossvane. They've installed what are called leaky dams, and they're just bits of board across the drainage trenches, and that's reduced the runoff of the sediment. Now, hopefully, when they get round to taking the silt from the marina and reinstating the deads, it'll stop that problem. It might be many years before the silt that's accumulated in the riverbed and along the gravel is scoured out, but it's costing millions of pounds to deal with the heavy metals: lead, zinc, copper, cadmium, arsenic, aluminium, manganese and iron. And there's a further knock-on with the heavy metals. The whole area is at Foxdale. There's several areas which are badly poisoned with these heavy metals, as is Laxey, particularly Snaith Fell. Livestock shouldn't be grazing on the areas. And if you look at what happened in Laxey in the last 10 or 15 years, where the Glen Road has been flooded, there will have been silt from the mines at Snaith Fell, washed down the river and settled out in the areas that were inundated. So there may well be areas along the Glen Road where the ground is contaminated, the soil is contaminated with heavy metals.
John, I have to say, John, you're depressing me. This doesn't sound a pretty picture at all.
It's not. And until we see some action from DEFRA, and particularly Manx Utilities, to put right the mistakes they've made in the past, the fish are going to disappear. I haven't purchased a river license for the last 6 or 7 years now, because not that it's pointless. I just don't want to go up there and get disappointed by the lack of fish.
Okay. All right, John, we appreciate it, Cole. Thanks for all the detail you've given us today. And stay in touch, John, okay?
No problem.
Good to talk to you. Thanks for that. I want to go to another John now who's with us. Hi, John.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Very good. Thanks for waiting.
No, you're welcome. I was listening yesterday with interest to, I think it was Richard from Garth Commissioners, talking about all the hassle he's been having and having to read through all these technical documentations on the wind turbines.
Yeah.
And also, not so long ago, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's CRP or something like that, 8.5, where the global scientists have downgraded their global predictions using modelling. Excuse me, a few people have mentioned that. I think Julian mentioned that. Not only that, but then last year we had Stu Peters calling for a referendum on the Climate Change Act. Unfortunately, it didn't get through, but thanks to Manx Radio, who put a detailed summary of all the different MHK's responses to that petition, I've now decided I'm going to start a campaign for amendments to the Referendum Act 1979. And it's detailed on the website yourvote.im. And I encourage everyone to have a look at it, have a read. And to quote you, Andy, it's to try and deal with this problem where, like you say, we're caught in the middle and we never asked for all of this.
Well, the thing is that, as you say, we are caught in the middle, and there are people on either side that are either gently telling us information, sometimes pointing at us, and sometimes shouting at us. And
exactly,
we need to know more. Nobody wants to live through a cataclysm. Nobody wants to live through a disaster. We just want to know what's going on, and we'd like to know the facts. And the facts, the independent facts, not somebody who's working for a think tank or somebody's working for a big company and they've got money in the game. We'd just like to know where we stand.
But exactly, that's the whole point of it. And we're doing the same thing again and again and again, electing these MHKs, and nothing changes. And the definition of madness is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. So I'm trying to do something different that might give us a different result. And that's why I say if anyone's interested, they have a look at yourvote.im, where I've detailed my proposals, which has taken an awful lot of input from people. See what people think, and like the gentleman yesterday, Richard said, talk to the prospective MHKs, all the candidates, ask them questions. Do they support this? Do they support that? We can't just keep voting people in, expecting things to change, because it's not going to change. We, the voters, have to do it.
Okay, your website again is?
yourvote.im.
Okay, all right. We appreciate this, and thanks for hanging on again, John. Good to hear from you today.
No, you're welcome. Take care.
Okay, 12:30 it is. David's with us now. Hi, David. We'll find David in a moment.
Crow Isle of Man Chartered Accountants.
Remember when you used to get business advice from your bank manager? Stiff upper-lipped pillars of the community whom you called Sir? Nowadays, you can get all the advice on every business issue from the friendly, down-to-earth chaps at Crow Isle of Man. And some of the chaps are even women. Imagine! Crow Isle of Man. Global presence, local knowledge.
Crow Isle of Man. Crow.im.
For a wide range of wood-burning stoves and a complete installation service, visit The Snug in Ramsey. And we don't stop there. Kiln-dried firewood and full aftercare service, including chimney sweeps and maintenance. Call The Snug in Ramsey.
Love a proper country pub with superb food, great drinks, fantastic atmosphere and a warm welcome? Then you'll love the Ginger Hall in Sulby. From fabulous Sunday roasts and succulent steaks to pizza, chicken wraps and delicious desserts. There's something for everyone at the Ginger Hall in the pub or our restaurant. Our new menu is online and Facebook. Booking is highly recommended, so reserve your table at gingerhall.im. And why not stay over in one of our 8 ensuite hotel rooms? The Ginger Hall, country pub, restaurant and hotel.
Carpetland, the carpet specialist with the island's best value carpets in stock, often fitted within a week. Furnitureland, for 3-piece suites, dining and living room furniture, and a selection of amazing beds. Carpetland and Furnitureland, West Street, Ramsey.
Weekend or workend, you're tuned to the Sunday Chill Out Show with Chris Pearson on Manx Radio.
Join me Sunday evenings from 7 for 2 hours of the most chilled out and relaxing new and classic tracks on Manx Radio's Sunday Chill Out Show.
Kick back, relax and chill with Chris Pearson on the Manx Radio Chill Out Show. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
It's 27 minutes to 1. I think we found David. Hello, David.
Hi, Andy. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Lovely. Can I talk about the Manx Development Corporation?
Of course you can.
And a couple of things. What are they actually doing for us? And why are we spending that so much money and not receiving any... Well, we don't get any requests for information, do we? They won't come on Manx Radio still, I presume, and justify what their existence is. But they have, to me, they just have a limited supply of money from the Isle of Man government to do things like the nurses' home. How many are occupied? Have we sold any? Is the shop running? Or what's happening to it? And there's other places on the Isle of Man as well. Go through them all. You look at the old prison site, the school that's there, the old Park Road school, 2 pubs, the Quarter Bridge and the one down Derby Road there, which is now virtually an auction site all the time. Probably doesn't have planning permission for that, but never mind. We just look around it, don't we? But all these things, they were supposed to be instigated to make an income for the government or us as the taxpayers.
Well, at the moment, we don't hear much, and as you say, they're not FOIable. You can't put in a freedom of information request to them. I've asked them several times to come on Mannin Line, and got no response. Didn't even reply to my emails, and they're all, notable people who are involved with it. But I don't know whether they've been, clammed up by government. Government is telling them not to say anything, and also, you hear all sorts of skeet. Whether there's discontent within Manx Development Corporation that the government haven't released land to them, and the fact that various departments don't want to release land, and I think Chris Thomas is trying to get all the government land in one place so that it can be released, but at the moment it comes under departments. So we don't know. It would be nice if we did know, because it's our money.
Well, it'd be nice to know that Chris will actually succeed on something and actually do that, because there's a number of local authorities right around the island which would invest in local authority housing, sheltered accommodation, build new units. At least they would be done. And that's the why I'm bellyaching all the time there. We've approached government, as I'm not speaking on behalf of our commissioners, but I am one, is we've asked all sorts of different things about land at the old gas plant, the back of Doughty's, which someone will come on and say it's not Doughty's anymore, but it's government land there. And at the end of the day, if it's not working out with this development corporation, why can't the local authorities get engaged and build stuff? At least it will be done. Or there'll be promises given that in maybe a year and a half or whatever, certain things will be done. And the biggest thing, Andy, for me, is Albert Terrace as well. The place is empty. What do we do with it? We don't have a refuge place anymore for putting ex-prisoners in that haven't got a home or whatever. It'll be very interesting. Is it Thursday or next week when you're talking to the prison?
This Thursday. Tomorrow I'm at Castle Rushen High School. On Thursday I'm inside. I'm in jail.
Right. Well, the biggest thing there, and I'll throw it out there, well, they'll probably be going to be listening there, is how do people, prisoners or people who get community service, how do they discharge their debt to society? Because I know a lot of people who have a number of hours and are not really hard criminals, but they've been stupid or whatever, and they've needed to discharge 100 hours, 50 hours or whatever, and they can't do it. And I believe the system is wrong.
Well, that's
They're not funding it.
I'll put that down on the list. How is community service administered, and who validates it?
Yeah, and I could say for a fact we've used it. I've used it personally in Onken some years ago there when they did things for the Pensioners Club. They've done stuff for the football club. And we've had prisoners do things at the football club as well. Recently, you say about 6 months ago, and I won't say the fellow's name totally, but anyway, Tim's been an absolute ace who's organised things and saved local groups and organisations money and put something back into the community, which we're not getting anywhere else, are we? Okay. And before anybody asks, I've got a full set of batteries and I'm only getting 9p. All right?
Thank you for calling. All right, it's 22 minutes before 1. Yes, tomorrow we're at Castle Rushen High School with the Year 12s. Schools break up on Thursday, so they'll be full of beans tomorrow. And then on Thursday, Mannin Line goes behind bars. We're going to the Isle of Man prison to find out exactly what makes the place tick. The governor's going to be there, Leroy Bonnick, the Martin Phillips, the deputy governor's going to be there. We'll find out all about the workshop where prisoners are trained, really in electrical, in plastering, all sorts of things, bricklaying, the whole lot. And exactly to find out, Leroy Bonnick is also head of probation on the Isle of Man, so we'll find out about probation, how that works, as Dave was saying, community service. The prison's part of our lives. The prison is an element of our society. So I think it's nice that we find out a bit more about it. And thanks to everybody at the prison for facilitating all this. The report will consider the future function of the Manx Development Corporation. It's going to be placed under review. Follows the publication of a report which looked at the viability of brownfield regeneration schemes. It found that construction costs were 18% higher than the UK average and comparable to Outer London. This is the Manx Development Corporation. Do you remember the old nurses' home on Westmoreland Road? What's happened there? Is that cafe open? Is the shop open? Who's there? Who's living there? Have they sold them? Have they rented them? Have they leased them? What's the story with it all? The next step, according to Treasury, is a full review to be published, including a look into the future function and the role of the Manx Development Corporation and its operating model. 2021 it started. It's 5 years on. The MDC's an arm's-length commercial company owned by the Treasury. So it's the same thing almost as the steam packet. It's a commercial company owned by the Isle of Man Treasury to spearhead urban regeneration with a focus on brownfield sites. So it's transformed the former nurses' home in Douglas into a block of apartments, and other plans in the pipeline are that Westmoreland Village scheme, which is down Domain Road, basically that block of land between Domain Road and Westmoreland Road, where the old Jane Crookall maternity used to be. And what's going to happen there? Famously, of course, no parking. So nobody's going to be allowed to, well, you can have a car, because you can't park anywhere. So what's going to happen to it? MDC won't talk. I mean, we are a radio station. We prefer if people speak to us. But they sent us a piece of paper that said they welcome the Treasury's recent publication highlighting current difficulties and costs associated with development on the Isle of Man. Following our contribution, this is their words, by the way, following our contribution to this piece of work, we'll continue to engage with the government and incoming administration in the next phase of the review. Well, have you got any thoughts on this? Oh, by the way, congratulations to the government. Apparently we're up 41 million against budget. Central government's summary management accounts for 2025-26 have produced an unexpected bonus for Treasury. A significantly higher than expected tax take means it's £40.8 million up against budget. It was driven largely by income tax receipts, significantly exceeding budget across all areas, including individual tax, company tax and ITIP and subcontractors. But employee and other operating costs were higher than budget, I see. A number of government departments used internal fund claims to supplement revenue spending, enabling overall budget targets to be met. The DHSC required a £19 million supplementary vote in Tynwald. DESC ended the year £1.9 million under budget. But there we are. And that's common. That's not kind of unexpected. It's often that the budget, the estimates will go on the low side. So coming in 40.8 million up is not completely unknown. It's nice though, isn't it? Juan Watterson has been elected the new president of Tynwald. But the outgoing president, Lawrence Skelly, discussed his time in the Manx Parliament on how politics has changed. How much has politics changed on the Isle of Man? The outgoing president of Tynwald.
Being prepared is important. Yeah. No doubt about it. You can't, with the order papers that they are, you never really have enough reading time. And that's the one thing I guard, particularly new members about. Always keep enough time, block time for reading time. And I guess the careful thing today is with the advancements of technology, AI and so forth, don't be over-reliant on that. It can be a useful tool, like any research tool can be useful, but you've got to form your own opinion, and this is about a vision. You politicians, people look to you to have a vision of what you want and how you can achieve it, because again, politics is not a science, it's an art. So it's about the art of what's possible, but it starts with that vision, and it certainly starts with that passion. So you got to, what you say there is absolutely right about speaking from your heart and what you really feel passionate about. So that's really, really important, I'd say. Politics and debate is about understanding both sides, and it gets back, I come back to that old Manx saying, listen with each ear, then make judgment. It is very, very important, and that's your role, I think, as a politician. You've got to go out and not just get the views that you support, that go along with what you're thinking and what you envisage, but you want to understand all aspects of it and then make that decision. So it is a challenging role, and these challenging times, and now I think the access of the politicians, with social media and so forth, it's even more challenging. But my counsel there is, just be very careful and don't try not to rush decisions. There's always an opportunity to wait and do a little bit more research and understanding before you press that button, because when you do press that button, you are now accountable, and you should know what your reason and your rationale for pressing that button, yay or nay.
That's the outgoing president of Tynwald, Lawrence Skelly, and we wish him well in his departure from politics, hopefully not public life. And Juan Watterson is our new president of Tynwald. Glad to hear that Juan Watterson has been made president, says Frank on 378. I enjoyed him as speaker. I found him very personable, and I've found him intellectual, says Frank as well. Thanks for that. A note in, many notes now on the fish stuff we've been talking about regarding the NSC, Riverworks at the NSC, apparently. JCK have got the contract, said that. Jimmy Cubbins got the contract there. Where does this leave the biosphere, says Peter, talking about the fish and what have you. And according to Howard was questioning salmon can still get through using fish ladders, but stocks have been declining globally. DEFRA continues to rear nearly 20,000 fry juvenile salmon at Cornay every year, says Anthony. Thank you for that note in. The Isle of Man's future, this is Graham, our friend Graham Fox-Hume. Do you remember Graham talks about geothermal quite a bit? He's been on Mannin Line before. The Isle of Man's energy future is not wind farms or solar panels. It's right beneath our feet, deep geothermal. This will not use up the Isle of Man's water supply. The latest technology uses fully concentrically cased walls, so the water steam system is recycled with very little loss. Also, the initial water fill now uses seawater as its base, as it uses special additives downhole, modified again via heat exchangers to drive the generator turbines. I've said it before, our island is ideally placed as we are geologically a granite uplift, and modern directional drilling techniques should be able to reach suitable subsurface temperatures relatively easily. Once installed, geothermal is clean, green, unobtrusive, and can last for between 50 and 100 years or more. Graham talking about geothermal. And a note in that just says, government pushes digital services but shows no savings, employing more staff and spending more money every year. And as has been said before, technology costs people money. There's the cost of devices, cost of the internet, cost of apps. So are we paying double for our services, says Gaz.
A great night's sleep got even better with Zed's Bedding Store. From quality Bell-Dorm bed linen and mattress protectors, fleece and woven throws, to luxury duvets from the fine bedding company. Zed's Bedding Ramsey, next to Isle of Man Bank.
Prepare for a summer holiday of exhilarating exploration with the Silverdale Explorers Club. Join our hunt in Silverdale Glen from the 24th of July to the 31st of August to win amazing weekly prizes of £50 cash and a giant garden toy. Just grab your free Explorer passport and weekly challenge sheet from Silverdale Cafe and find and photograph the hidden items to collect a weekly sticker to enter each week's prize draw. The Silverdale Explorers Club with Silverdale Cafe. Coming soon.
Heating oil for homes, powering farms and businesses, keeping you moving with petrol stations across the island. Ellen Vannin Fuels. Call us on 844000.
For 2 whole days of fun and entertainment,
fantastic food and drink,
a huge range of Manx craft and trade exhibitors,
and so much more.
It must be time for the Royal Manx Agricultural Show.
On Friday the 7th and Saturday the 8th of August at Knockalo Farm Patrick, come and celebrate the very best of Manx tradition, community and countryside.
See amazing bold dog motorsports, the Young Farmers Tug of War, plus the return of the DEFRA Manx Produce Marquee, showcasing the best of Manx food and drink.
The Royal Manx Agricultural Show. Visit royalmanx.com or find us on Facebook for more information and to buy your tickets.
Supported by Conister Bank and your nation station, Manx Radio.
Tonight at 6:30 here on Manx Radio, join Kiri Kermode and myself, Simon Clark, for Countryside.
I catch up with Kaylee Masson and the young handlers who are training their calves ahead of the Southern District Agricultural Show.
I found out more about the Children's Centre on their big day out to find out what activities there are available at the centre. I also went along to have a look at some of the gardens in Ramsey, which were open as part of the Ramsey in Bloom Open Gardens weekend.
That's all in Countryside tonight here on Manx Radio at 6:30. And don't forget you can download or subscribe to the podcast for free at manxradio.com.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
It's 11 minutes before 1. Talking of, you heard the commercial there for the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. We'll be there live. Mannin Line will be there live on Friday the 7th with a panel of guests talking about matters for the countryside and for the coastline, also for farming. In Tynwald, I think Tynwald's still on, isn't it?
So the question's simple.
Yeah, they're still on talking. In Tynwald this month, there are 25 questions. Table for an answer. Other items of note on the order paper include the election of the new president, that's Juan Watterson, and a funding bid for the Douglas Bay Horse Tramway. It's on. We'll see, shall we? You never know, do you? A note in from 223 who tells me, I'm in my 70s. I used to fish Douglas rivers for years. Summer migration in these rivers has collapsed since the Douglas Marina was built. Before the marina was built, the boat pool near the nunnery used to be full of salmon between tides. DEFRA only adds salmon to local rivers occasionally, says 259. Rainbow trout are added to local reservoirs. The seals are responsible for the largest depletion in migratory fish. River obstructions are responsible for a lack of passage, says Chris in Ramsey. Are there that more seals? Many more seals than there used to be. Bring back the river gangs, says Marie. Government departments don't clear the rivers now of fallen trees. Bring back the old boys that took pride in their work. What's the revenue earned from the fishing licenses here? Not a lot, I believe, so stocking reservoirs is taxpayers' money funding the makeup. Water is life's essential. We need it to drink. I can't drink trout, says 085. Well, that's a very good point. What gets me is that no one in government's ever held accountable for wrong and bad decisions, and here we have a clear example with our rivers. When it comes to government, we have a saying here, is that you can't teach stupid, if you get my drift, says G. I think we get your drift, G. Thank you for that. What doesn't help with the heavy metal washing down into Peel is the fact that many government departments made their staff empty used chemicals and old engine oil and any unwanted dangerous liquids down the mine shaft and snuff the wind. Nobody was ever found accountable. When was that, Rich? Years ago? All the lack of maintenance and shoddy work by the government is the managed decline of the Isle of Man, says Victoria. Well, it's interesting. Not many people fish on the Isle of Man. It's a very big recreational sport, but if the facility to fish on the Isle of Man is going down, what does that say? And again, who is it? Who's responsible for it? Is it DEFRA? Is it Manx Utilities? Manx Utilities will be husbanding their resources, as that correspondent said. Everybody is going to panic if there's no drinking water. So where do we put our priorities? Isn't it more likely that the uplift in income tax because they issued a lot more payment on account for the following year, said Ed? Is that the reason for the increase in them going over budget? Congratulations to Dewan Watterson, says 768. He's the right calibre of person and it's well deserved. That's H. So, a note in the man you mentioned about geothermal is... Oh, Simon. Okay, Simon, you're mentioning some personal insults there. If you can come on and tell us what your point of view is, that'd be great. But I'm not here to to mouth your personal insults. So by all means, come on and make your point. But we'll have none of that. So what happens if the DOI runs out of money again? Will the horse trams stop outside Jack's? What's to stop it happening again? You were talking about being tech-savvy, says Sally. What were you talking about? Well, there may be a general assumption that the vast majority of the population has access to computer-based services, but it's not necessarily the case. A bid to bridge the digital divide will be launched at the Roundhouse in Braddon this Friday, the 24th. It's the first meeting of a new forum. Spearheading the project is David Gorn.
What we regard with digital inclusion is that everybody has the availability of digital products. They have the accessibility of it because it might be available, but they can't actually access it, and they can afford it. So often enough, people can say, well, yes, I can buy a computer, but there's a cost to that, and there's an ongoing cost for running that. So we're looking at availability, accessibility, and affordability. Those are the three terms we're using to do this, and we're hoping that we might have this in place by 2030. That's our ambition. And on Friday, up to all the time, but it's getting those involved, whether it be digital providers, whether it be service providers, whether it be people who can give us computers, whether it be Joe Public who wants to be involved in this, so that we can bring people together and start to join up the dots. So what we want to do is reduce the digital divide, bring together those who provide the services, because it's all very well saying to somebody, we'll give you a computer, but at the end of the day, they've then got to find a service provider who will link them into the internet. They've then got to find a provider who will link them into the into the email system. So if we can get a reasonable cost for joining into the internet service, and then if you look at people like Gmail and Outlook, they're all free anyway, so there's not any way a real cost there. There is in the UK a digital tariff, which is in law, whereby people on certain levels of income can access services, including broadband, at discounted rates. Now, that is being talked about now, and I know Cura are looking at that at the moment, and that's something which will come in here. But that's something which we want to encourage, not giving people something for nothing, but having a sliding scale that people can pay according to their means, rather than say to everybody, you can have this for nothing. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay, so if you want to know more about this, it's the Roundhouse in Braddon this coming Friday, the first meeting of this new forum. And if you are not tech savvy and if you want to find out more about it, then by all means nip along to there. We keep our fingers crossed for our athletes who are heading to Glasgow this coming Thursday, the 23rd. The Commonwealth Games, the 2026 Commonwealth Games gets underway. Our sports editor Rob Pritchard is going to be there reporting on everything. He'll be running around with a microphone and a pair of headphones. They start this Thursday 23rd, run until Sunday 2nd of August. Athletics events are due to take place between the 27th and the 1st, and you'll be able to listen to the full extended version interviews with all the athletes and the Isle of Man team manager Steve Partington via the Manx Radio Sportscast. But Ollie Lockley, David Malarkey, they're there as well. Regan Corran, Krista Kane, Sarah Aston, David Malarkey, Jack Kinraid, Regan Corran. They're all doing some fantastic work, so we wish them well. This coming Thursday, the Commonwealth Games gets underway. We've got a fine tradition. I'm sure it'll be upheld. The government needs to get a grip. We're too much like the UK, says Mick. In what way, Mick? So for the next 2 days, we've got outside broadcast. Tomorrow, live from Castle Rushen High School. And then on Thursday, live at the prison. The next open line's going to be on Friday. In the meantime, if you want to leave a message or you want to send any questions for me to pass to when I'm at the prison, the email address is manninline@manxradio.com. manninline@manxradio.com, or call the answer phone on 682-631. In the meantime, thanks to Lexi on the phones. Great job today, and I'll catch you tomorrow. In the meantime, enjoy your Tuesday.